Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I want to share with you things that I still buy in 2024 as a recovering, I say kind of recovered shopping addict actually. I don't know, I'm recovering or recovered. You may know that I have been on quite a transformation journey over the last probably like year and a half, 2 years. And I did a video about 3 months ago featuring 10 things that I quit buying. And I'm gonna have that linked if you haven't checked that out. But I wanted to, on the flip side, share with you things that I still buy. Some of these things I've been buying for years, some of them are more recent things that I choose to spend my money on. Because I do think there are some assumptions that since switching up my content that I just am anti-shopping. Number one is really of no surprise to anyone, I'm sure, but books. Probably throughout this portion, I will have like some books on screen that I've recently purchased. I think I read 36 books last year, which was a bit of a record for me. I know to some people that's like not that much, but to me that was quite a lot. This year I haven't read as many, like I'm not like on track to beat 36 books, but who knows, you know, anything could happen. Whether it be Audible, whether it be my Kindle, whether it be physical books, I just love consuming not only information and thought-provoking content, but I also just love fiction books. I love reading thrillers. I also occasionally dabble in the romance smut genre, but I can't really handle too much of that because after a while I get a bit fatigued and a bit like, ugh. I've just finished a book actually called Good Material, and it was a book about a male comedian who was just kind of navigating a breakup, and that's kind of one of the first books I've ever read from a male perspective. I really enjoyed it. That was my last read. So if you do have any book recommendations, drop them in the comments down below. Number two, an activity or things that are kind of surrounding my hobbies. I'm really big into classes lately. There is a specific website, I don't know if you have it in your country, I don't know if it's just an Australian thing. I think it's like bento classes. I'll have the link here and also down in the description. But I just love those classes. I scroll those classes on a weekly basis, and I'm looking for one to do actually in the next couple of weeks / months. But the last one I did was a Swiss meringue buttercream cooking class, and you may have seen it on Instagram because I can't shut up about it. But oh my God, I love making Swiss meringue buttercreams. The way I have become obsessed with making Swiss meringue buttercream, like, I don't even know who this is for. I'm making a dozen cupcakes for nobody. I'm just obsessed. It's so yummy to me. I'm obsessed.
Caitlin, the cupcake maker. La-dee-da-dee-da-da. Caitlin is a cupcake maker. She makes cupcakes. She's a baker.
Let me just show you actually. Please hold. Look at it! Oh, it's not focusing. I made these just the last weekend gone, for no apparent reason. Like, I was having the time of my life on Saturday baking. I made 12 cupcakes for nobody. Like, these are just in my fridge. It looks like a beautiful rose. Okay, I think it's because I realized, and I think it's just like an unfortunate consequence of this fast-paced world we live in, and you know, everyone's just got so much going on. But I think I got to a point like a few years ago where I realized that I didn't actually have any hobbies. Like, I didn't have anything that I did just out of pure enjoyment, you know, that didn't make me money or that wasn't a responsibility, like something that I did purely for the joy. I don't think I'm alone in that. You know, I've been speaking to a few women lately who are like, yeah, I don't have any hobbies. I don't have time for hobbies. And I wish that I could say I was making friends in the process, but unfortunately a lot of the things that I'm interested in, a lot of the hobbies that I partake in must just be my small city. I'm like the youngest one there. And that's just one thing I've noticed is a lot of my hobbies are really kind of like solo things, or they're just for maybe more of an older age demographic. And yeah, it is what it is. Maybe one day I'll walk into one of those classes and there'll be a woman in her 30s or 40s that's just like, oh my God, Caitlin, we are like two peas in a pod. There's a spark, we're hitting it off, let's be friends. That hasn't happened yet, but you know, there's always that possibility. Number three, flights and travel plans. Now this one I'm adding onto the list because I have high hopes of going potentially overseas twice this year, which is a big deal. Much as I really love travel and I love the experience, it also makes me highly anxious. And those flight prices, painful. Okay, they're painful. And I just think at this point, these airlines are just taking the piss. Like, they're taking the piss. But I have not actually gone ahead and booked anything yet, but I'm in the process of making plans looking at hotels, looking at flights, looking at certain times, dates, costs, and this will all depend on whether or not I can find somebody I trust to look after the love of my life, my baby, Flynnigan. If you're following me on Instagram, you are seeing the saga that is trying to find a normal, sane, trustworthy person to look after the love of my life, Lynn. And I'm still in that hunt. This one is something that I've pretty much always prioritized, and that is skincare. Treatments, certain vitamins, certain skincare products to just get my skin in a more stable place. Once I got off the contraceptive pill, once I got off birth control, I experienced like a little bit of a hiccup with my skin, and then it kind of went normal. It like lured me into a false sense of security, and I was like, oh my God, like my skin's amazing. And then around June of last year, things just took a turn and they never really went back. And maybe now you can't see anything because I am quite a far distance away from the camera, and also I've got makeup on and the lighting probably helps, but I do have, you know, acne scars, I do have blemish scars. Even right now I have like one like active-ish blemish. It's under here though. I've accepted that this is the price I'm personally paying, and I know to some of you this is like a super weird way to look at the world and look at life, but I believe that every action has consequences and every action has a reaction. And taking the birth control pill, being put on contraceptive at the young age that I was, in order to fix my skin, as the doctor said, it wasn't really gonna fix anything, it was just masking the symptoms that I was experiencing. I masked that hormonal blemishes for about almost 15 years of my life, and I can't just expect my skin to have been over that phase when I didn't actually heal or take the time to look into why my skin is doing this. This one's kind of like a 2-for-1, but things that will make me more money in the future, or things that I know that I could sell for, if not the same money or a profit. My mindset towards a lot of my money habits has changed over the last few years, and I have always held this belief to some degree, but I think within the last year, it's just now that I've kind of kicked my habit of kind of like void filling and unhealthy spending, that means that I've been able to put a lot more money towards things that are going to benefit me in the future. Look, this is probably a bit strange, but I think it's just because I went so long of my 20s having like fake nails. You know, I think I've talked about this before. I was having acrylics, I was having SNS, and for a number of years there I was doing BAB, build in a bottle. And now I've kind of just stepped away from all that. I mean, right now I've literally, you probably can't see because it's blurry, I've just got my natural nails with nothing on, because I do take breaks every now and again from polish. But one of the things that I've really been enjoying lately is just finding brands that I love. At the moment, I'm loving Essie. Essie is probably my favorite nail polish brand, and you know, I every now and again will indulge in some new colors. I've heard great things about Dazzle Dry, and I did just purchase a little set from them, so I'm interested to try it and see what that's like, because I'm just always looking for like the best formula, longer lasting formula for the times that I do paint my nails. Clothing. So obviously I'm still buying certain pieces of clothing. I'd say that 80 to 90% of my clothing is still designer or more like mid-range, and a lot of it I choose to buy on sale. So this particular top here, I have it in white. I love it so much. I bought it in black and I got it for 25% off in a specific sale. So I'm all about duplicates, but that's not really the point. I'm just, yeah, more selective with my pieces of clothing. I still purchase clothing, but it's obviously not as excessive as it used to be, and I'm very particular about the price range and when I choose to buy. There are some things I just will not choose to spend my money on. I'm also really not as into buying like really expensive luxury fashion anymore, designer fashion, because I feel like as well that quality slipping as well. And I think unless you really understand like craftsmanship and like just sewing principles and how things are put together, you probably wouldn't notice this. And this is something that I've realized, because I'm not really super familiar with this, but I know people who have worked in the industry and do work in the industry and understand certain principles on how to make clothing. And, you know, I've come to them with pieces of clothing that have just fallen apart or started to come apart that cost, you know, 3-4 figures. And they're like, oh yeah, well, it's because this wasn't done properly. It's because this was done in a cheaper way. And a lot of people don't know these things. And I think a lot of fashion never used to be like this, but unfortunately, even designer brands are looking to cut corners where they can. Not all designer brands, but a lot of them are. So I'm just a lot more picky with what I choose to buy and how often I choose to buy, how frequently, because of that exact reason. Anything that will improve my health. Some of you, if you know me, if we've talked on my DMs, I don't know, maybe I've made it very clear on my YouTube videos. Maybe you can just sense it. Like, I'm a freaking health nut. Like, I am a hypochondriac health nut who is constantly looking at ways to make my quality of life better, longevity, health. I'm all about it. And I mean, even right now, like, I'm looking at quotes to get a home filtration system. So obviously I have my drinking water that's filtered. And then I fell down a rabbit hole a couple of months ago of like getting an entire home filtration, which is thousands of dollars. So I'm not rushing out to get that done anytime soon. So yeah, anything to do with health, I'm interested in, but I'm also interested in cupcakes. Balance, people, balance. But yeah, anything related to health does pique my interest. Alcohol, but I suppose more specifically wine. And I need to be really careful how I word this. In the last year, since coming out openly about the fact that I genuinely, like, I don't just say this for like drama purposes, like I genuinely believe that I had what I deem to be a shopping addiction. I genuinely believe that it was really quite detrimental to my emotional, spiritual, and my mental health. I found it was a void, that I was filling a void with my shopping. Every now and again I will receive comments, especially when I film here. And basically, I mean, the one that really stood out to me was a few months ago, and it was somebody who said, I'm really concerned that you've switched out your handbag addiction for an alcohol addiction because of this wine rack that you can actually see here. And it didn't sound like it was coming from a place of like genuine concern. It sounded like, it just felt like it crossed a line for me, and it was like a little bit judgmental.
Wait a minute, who are you?
And yeah, like comments like that, like not as weird as that, but other ones like, oh wow, that's not a wine you've got back there, Caitlin. Like, do you have a problem? And I just feel the need to say, it definitely does highlight the parasocial relationship that I think sometimes this is where it can like go into really an unhealthy territory. Imagine watching like 20 to 30 to 40 minutes of somebody's life during a week, seeing a wine rack and making the assumption that they're an alcoholic. That's like, to me, seeing a scratchy or a lottery ticket on someone's counter and being like, oh my God, they've got a gambling addiction. Or like a pack of cigarettes. Like, I'm not a smoker and I don't necessarily think it's healthy, but I've never done that much mental gymnastics to see somebody's like pack of cigarettes on their counter and be like, oh my God, they're a chain smoker. Like, I'm just, it truly baffles me. It's one thing that I want to mention because I, for a long time, didn't really film in this particular area until I realized how pretty the backdrop was and I started filming here. And yeah, I've had a lot of concerns and like odd judgments about this wine rack right here. And I just want to say that obviously, like, let's set the record straight. I have not developed an alcohol addiction. Yeah, I do like spending money on wine and I do like trying wine. Let me show you actually. I mean, this is probably not good to continue to spark the alcoholic allegations, but here we go, let me just shoot myself in the foot. This here is an empty bottle of, I don't even know how to say that because I'm an uncultured swine, Tignanello. Now, if you know wine, you know this is a fucking damn good wine. This is a damn good wine. This is empty though, this is empty. Not because I drank the whole thing. Because when I went to Italy, I tried a glass of this and I mean, I would have got a bottle, but I'm not that bougie and it was expensive. So I tried a glass and it was actually the last pour of the bottle. And I was like, oh, can I keep that bottle? And he was like, yeah, sure. And I keep it because it reminds me of my great time in Tuscany and it's just such a beautiful bottle. And if you know wine, you know that this is fucking damn expensive wine. I've really found a love for wine in the last few years. In my like early mid 20s, I was like into Moscato, and it's just so funny how much your tastes change. And I cannot stand Moscato now. Like, I cannot drink Moscato. I really love certain white wines. I love red wine as well. I love red wine more in the winter. And yeah, every now and again I come across a bottle of wine that I really like the look of, or I'd like to try, or I've heard really great things about and I want to buy. I also live in a state that has, you know, we have the Barossa Valley, we have McLaren Vale, and I don't know if you're into wine, maybe you've heard of those regions, but they are kind of more, they're getting there up in the world now. I think people who are into wine are possibly familiar with the Barossa Valley and maybe McLaren Vale, but I just wanted to maybe put it out there that I buy wine, but this does not mean that I've switched out my handbag addiction with an alcohol addiction. I just feel the need to make that clear. Anything that makes my life easier. I shared this thing, this little laundry contraption on Instagram a good few weeks ago, maybe like a month ago now. Oh my God, you would not believe. I've seen it before and I just thought, nah, waste of money. It's just little things like this that make my life so much easier and just shave minutes off my tasks. I'm all about. It's this little designated, like look, it's got your colors, your lights, and your darks. And I actually follow this system and it's made my laundry so much easier because I don't have to sort my laundry out. And also because they're all individual bags, I just like, if I have some spare time and I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna do a load, I don't have to pour all of my laundry out onto the floor and then separate it. I literally just pick up one of these bags, throw it in the washing machine, and it just makes my life so much easier. Another product that I shared, a contraption, expensive, but I shared it, I think at the start of the year on my Instagram. It's my little Tinaco machine. It's basically a vacuum cleaner and a mop in one. Now, just to make that clear, you can't use it for carpet. It's like mainly for tiles. I have a lot of wood floors and I have a lot of tiles. And this just makes my life so much easier. It shaves so much time off my week. I'm always looking for ways to just make my life easier, save time, especially with things that I don't really, love. I do find cleaning to be like a nice mindfulness activity, but I'm not like obsessed with vacuuming and mopping. And if I can find something that can do the two in one, obsessed. Whether you are, still living it up, spending freely, or if you're someone who's being a little bit more mindful and intentional with your spending, I'd love to hear from you what you're still choosing to spend your money on. I'm gonna have another few linked for you right here. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video, and I will see you in my next one.